Okay, so in today's video I'm going to show you how to make completely custom boot sounds on the Xbox 360 Slim using the JQ6500 chip and a external 2-wire speaker. So this method is better than the ones that you solder here, which is my special edition console video, is because this chip has a way bigger storage size, so you can have longer sounds and you can have more sounds. You can have up to 5 sounds. So for example, you could have one for power eject and some other buttons. Okay, so the first thing we need to do to prepare this chip is we need to remove some of these pin headers here, because we don't want them shorting against anything on the board. So I'm just gonna get some trimmers here and just start cutting these off like this, making sure not to touch the PCB. Just like this. And there we go. Wearing eye protection, of course, because these pin headers can fly away. So yeah, that's what it's going to look like. And now we can move on to soldering it into the console. Okay, so we're going to need to pre-tin 6 points on this chip. The first two being K1 and K2, which is the point which is grounded to activate the sound. And then we got SPK plus and minus, which is for the speaker. And then we've got 5 volt and ground. So I'm going to start off with K1 and K2 first of all. K1 and K2 are these two here. These diagrams will be in the description below as well. So I'm going to flux those up and then come in with my iron, all heated up. And I'm going to touch against the pin and then feed some solder in. Just like this. Just enough to adhere a wire on there. So that's K1 and then this is K2. There we go. Next we have SPK plus and minus, which is on this side. So these two here. So again, just gonna get some flux on there and pre-tin those. So SPK plus is the one at the bottom here. So like this. And then SPK minus is this one here. Just like that. There we are. Next is ground and 5 volts. So on the left side, with the micro USB positioned in this direction, it's gonna be 1, 2, and then 3 and 4 are the ones that we need to pre-tin. Ground being the one at the top, the third one, and 5 volt being the fourth one. So we're gonna come in like this and do the ground point. Just like this. Okay. And then 5 volt, which is this one here. There we go. So that's them all soldered. Once again, we have K1, K2, SPK plus, SPK minus, and ground 5 volt. So now we can go ahead and get this wired into the console, and I'll show you how to do that now. Okay, so what I've done to secure the chip down, because we don't want it dangling around, is I've used some of this double-sided adhesive stuff. So I've stuck some onto this place here on the board, and I'm just going to peel it back, just like this, and then grab the board and just line it up there, and just stick it right there, just like that, and give it a push down. And that's just going to make sure it's nice and secure on there and is not going to move around. You can take whatever precautions you want if you're worried about it freeing up. Feel free to use hot glue, you know, anything like that. It doesn't really make a difference to the end result. It's all purely cosmetic. So over here on the console, we're going to start soldering, and we're going to begin with the 5-volt ground. Now, as I'm going to be showing you these points under the microscope, what I'm also going to do is, as we go along, I'm going to show you where exactly the points are on the motherboard, because I don't want it to get confusing and, you know, people not know where the points are. So the first points we're going to begin with, ground and 5-volt, are right here. So it's this header here you're going to look for, J2C3, and that's what we're going to begin with under the microscope. Okay, so the 5-volt and ground points are over here on this header. What I'm going to do first is grab my microfiber scratch pen. Here it is. And I'm going to brush over these points here just to clean them up a little bit. So just coming in here and just rubbing them down just to get any grime off them. Just like this. You don't want to do this for too long, but you know, just down here. And just cleaning the board off just to make sure we get a solid connection. And then we're going to pre-tune the 2 points. So 5-volt is this one at the bottom here, right there, and ground is this one here, right there. So here we are. So just pre-tuning this like so. And this one here again, making sure we get a nice good sized blob on there, just like that. There we go. Alright, so we've got our 2 wires now. I'm using some single strand wire, which is 24 gauge, and I'm going to come in with the first one to the ground point. So I'm going to get it like this, and simply like this, connect that point. There we go. And then next is the 5-volt. So I'm going to come in with that one here and connect that one up. There we go. And you can see they're kind of running down in parallel, and it looks nice and neat. Okay, so a quick correction here. What I've done is I've flipped the board around, so the USB port was this way before, but these wires needed go here, so I thought it would look a lot neater, so I've just moved it around quickly. Okay, so here, once again checking the diagram, making sure you're not mixing these points up, I'm going to grab my 5-volt wire, which is here, and I'm going to bend it round to connect it to the point, which again, referencing the diagram, is this one here. So it's this one right there. I would recommend doing the ground first, just to make the soldering a bit easier, so that's what I'm going to do. The ground point here, just like this, and just tacking that down there. There we are, that's nice and connected. And then the next one is going to be the 5-volt, which will go here. So just like that. There we are, and that is 5-volt and ground connected. Okay, so that is those points soldered. Next we're going to move on to K1 and K2, which are located right here. So these connections here, so I'm going to get that under the microscope and we'll have a go at soldering those. Okay, so these are the next points. What we're going to do first is the power point, which is this one here, the square one. And then on the set of resistors, R4G7, which is this one here, it's the top of it, so there, that one. So let's solder this one. There we go, and then this one here. Being very careful not to kind of bridge any of these other points. But there it is. There we are. So those are tinned up now. Now to do this resistor one, I'm coming in with a much thinner wire because it's such a small point. So I'm going to come in like this and touch my iron there against it. So the angle is very important here. So what I'm going to do, just as an extra precaution, is I'm going to add some more flux. And I'm also going to get a little bit of solder on the end of my iron, just so there's something to stick to it. If you'd like to follow along with any of my tutorials, then you're going to need some PCBs. Speaking of PCBs, did you know you can get your own printed with today's sponsor, PCBWay? That's right, with their quick order services, all you have to do is upload the Gerbers for any PCB board and they'll get them shipped to you quickly and affordably. I've used them for all of my hardware projects so far and the quality is fantastic, as is their service. They also offer board assembly, 3D printing and CNC, making them a one-stop shop for all of your prototyping and manufacturing needs. Go check them out at PCBWay.com. Okay, so I've got a bit of a better ball on there now, so let's go ahead and try to get this connected like that. There we go. So that looks nice. All connected to the correct point. And now let's do the power one, which is, again, we're going to come in with the same kind of wire. Because these aren't power points, so we can get away with using thinner wire. And I'm just going to strip the end of this. Come in with a bit of solder on the end of my iron. So just getting a bit on the end of the iron there and coming in like this and just tacking that down there. Had it for a minute there, looks like it needs a little bit more solder. There we are, so that's good enough, connected to the power point. There we are, that's nice and connected. So now we can head over to the chip again and get those connected up. Okay, so we're going to now solder K1 and K2. I'm going to start with K1, the power point. So I'm just going to get this wire until it's kind of got a bit of slack on it, but it's still, you know, a reasonably sized point, and I'm just going to cut the end off and strip it back just like that, and then connect it to the K1 point, once again referencing the diagram. Okay, there we are. Making sure there's no bridge between those. I'm going to do it on this side, and there we are. Okay, so next we're going to do the eject wire, so this one here for K2. Okay, so it's not looking great, so we're going to add some more flux just to clean it up, and there we go. Just like that, so that's K2 and K1 connected. Now the last part is the speaker, and then we need to program the chip. So this is what it's currently looking like. We've got 5 volt and ground, and then K1 and K2. Next we need to add the speaker. The speaker is here, so what we need to do is cut this connector off the end and use the red and black wires. Once again, we're going to find this somewhere to mount on the console and connect it to those 2 points. So here I'm just going to grab a pair of scissors and cut the end off this, so we just have exposed wire leading onto the speaker. And now I'm going to expose the ends and we're going to solder them to the JQ6500. What I'm going to do as well is kind of modify this speaker. This is for the Xbox One, so it has these prongs sticking out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut them off and then have some sticky tape here so it can be flush to the console. Okay, so the final points, we're going to add a tiny bit of flux here and get a bit of solder on the end of the iron. So the red wire is the plus, so that's going to go to this one here on the bottom. So we're going to do SPK plus, which is the red wire, just like this. Okay, connected there, and then black, which is minus. So just like this, we kind of want to do it from this angle so it's not going to bridge like this. There we go. So that is the last wire. Now we can get to programming and testing and see if all this work's paid off. Okay, so what I've done is I've put the hard drive caddy in, I've put the fan shroud and the disk drive in, just to make sure that it all fits together, which it does, and nothing grounds out, which is nice. Now it's not programmed at the minute, so it's talking a Chinese phrase, which is interesting. Here it is. There it is. I assume that's saying something to do with programming, but yeah, programming's next. I'm thinking of doing like a retro Windows sound, maybe Windows 98, like the boot and error sound, maybe. So I'm going to get over to the computer and show you how to program. So next, what you're going to do is go into the link in the description below and download the WinLame setup. Once that's downloaded, you're going to open it, the MSI file, and you're just going to run anyway if it gives you a prompt. And you're going to go through this, agree to the terms, and begin installation of this program. Now this is the tool that we're going to use to convert the sound into something that it can use. Okay, so once that's done, we're going to click Launch WinLame and Finish. Okay, so with WinLame open and our sounds in the MP3 format all downloaded, we're going to select them, drag them over, and click Next. Then we're going to click Next again, and we're going to make sure this preset is on Custom Settings, and Next again. And then the bitrate is going to be on 16, and then we're going to click Next again. And it will say, warning, you're about to transcode audio files. This will degrade sound quality, and you're just going to click Finish. And you can see here it's going to say progress 100% done and status completed. So what you're going to notice now is when you play the sounds, the quality is going to be a lot lower, but when it comes through the speaker, it will sound fine. So now over on the JQ6500, you're going to open musicdownload.exe. You're going to click the second button here. Now this is all in Chinese, so I'm just going to tell you what buttons to press. Don't worry about translating anything. There is an English version, but I had trouble copying it to the JQ6500 because of storage size and permissions, so I didn't bother. This method will work just as well. So on the second column, you're going to press this button on the right, and you're first going to select the one that you want for power. Now, as we connected power to K1, whatever we load first is going to be K1. So if we load, an audio file 5th, then that's going to be K5. So we want to first pick the startup sound. Then we're going to go back and select the error sound, which is the eject. Then we're going to go over to the first column again and click this button. And it's going to say here flash. This might take a few moments. And then it's going to say done there. You can just about kind of figure it out, but that's done now. So it's all programmed, and now we can get over to the console and see if it's worked. So what I've done now is unplugged the micro USB And I'm going to unplug and replug power just to be safe to the console, and now we're going to try it out. Okay, so that was the eject sound. Let's see if we can get the power one. Okay. There it is. Let's eject. You do have the option to remove this speaker here, because otherwise you're going to get still the original sound, the beep. So basically removing this is just brute force, just pretty much ripping it off the board. It's not the most elegant solution, but let me just show you what that looks like, because I want to remove mine. So I'm going to unplug power completely, give it a few seconds, and then I'm basically just going to grab this and just twist it off the board. It feels painful to do, but that is really the only way to do it. And then we're going to replug power, and we'll see here that only the JQ6500 sound's going to play. So let's try it. So that basically is it for the JQ6500. You now have custom sound. For the boot and eject, you have the JQ6500 wired up, you have the speaker, and this of course takes 5V and ground from the points on the motherboard, so you don't need to plug anything else into the board to get power. Anyway, that is the JQ6500 on the Xbox 360 Slim Trinity. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like down below and subscribe. You can also now use the join feature on my channel to donate £1 a month, and all the money goes towards improving content and making better videos. There's also some super thanks and other features like that. No one is obligated to do it. I'm very appreciative of everyone who watches the videos regardless of any donations. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.